Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of 15 Good Minutes. As always, it's your guy, Coach B, and I'm here with half of the 18 today. Freddie, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. And yourself?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Good to see you. We weren't here last week because I was traveling. I was in California, and this week, JR's out sick. Get well soon, buddy. We'll see you next
Yeah.
week. It's the halfway point of the NBA season. The All-Star game. One, did you watch it? Two, did you care? Three, do you have any thoughts on it?
The only part of the All-Star festivities that I watched was the three-point shootout and the dunk competition that I thought to me that was the highlight of the weekend. I did not watch the game. I actually watched what's happening and what's happening now that was airing on TV1.
But the NBA is bad, and I think getting worse. I kind of like the format where it was like a pickup game. We're going to pick up right before the game, but the fact that nobody's playing defense, and it just isn't the same. So I didn't watch it either. I watched how the teams were selected, and then chirped out. And to your point, the night before the 2 nights before, the celebrity game was good. They always bring somebody out that's talented, and most times it's an NFL player, as was the case this year. Skills challenge so. I don't know how I feel about the dunk contest because I'm not a fan of Matt McClung. I'm not hating, but if you got to bring somebody in from the G League to do your dunk contest, either stop having it or go back to how it used to be back in the day when you had no fooling, NBA players doing it. But at the end of the day, he put on a show. He got it done, did a good job. So when we first took a look, Freddie, at the NBA at the start, we kind of looked at where who was in the lead. I'm gonna start you off in the Eastern Conference. It's still pretty much the same. Celtics 1, Bucks 2, 76ers 3, and oddly enough, now the Cavaliers are 4. Based on those top 4 in the East, do you see any shakeup?
I don't see any shakeup. I think probably some Boston, Milwaukee, Philly. They may look at, and I think we're approaching that time frame to where if there's a player and he's bought out, they can sign with a team and be eligible to make on a playoff roster. I think we're getting closer to that point. But
Yeah, like what's your guy's name from Cleveland that's about to sign with Miami this week? Kevin Love. Very
yeah,
very very
Kevin,
similar
yeah,
situation. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think something like that. But I don't really see there being much of a shakeup in the East.
Right now, I didn't mention the 5 slot, but the 5 is the Nets. They were very active in that trade. Do they hold that 5 spot? Go up, go down? In your opinion, you still see them as a playoff team when we get down to the spring?
I do see them as a playoff team. I do see them, and that's just because barring injury, of course, because everything is barring injury. But if they stay healthy and they continue to gel, I do see them as being a 5 spot. I don't see them improving on the 5 spot, but I see them definitely holding it.
I'm there too. It's very tight when I look at those top 4. 3 and 4 both have 38 wins. Number 2, Bucks have 41 at the time we recorded. Celtics have 42. I don't know how Giannis's hand injury will impact him. To your point about health being consistent all across, but I think Milwaukee will still be a top 4 team. Before we leave the East, interesting today as we record, Atlanta fired Nate McMillan. It kind of got me wondering if it had anything to do with the disagreements that him and Trey were having, or if they were just, thinking that they wanted to be, because they're a 500 team right now. I'm not sure what the expectation was, but they bounced Nate this afternoon. Before I go over to the West, anything about the East up to this halfway point surprised you so far, or has it pretty much been as you thought it would be?
But I would say the biggest surprise of the East would be the Brooklyn Nets, playing without Kevin Durant. I mean, you have Kyrie Irving for a period of time, and they actually did very well.
Mm-hmm.
And then now, you trade Kyrie, you trade KD, and now you get these assets, these pieces in. and they're playing well.
All right. Well, rounding out the East, like I say, we got the Nets at 5, Knicks at 6, almost identical records. Heat at 7, Hawks at 8, and the Wizards are at 9. Jumping over to the West, I don't think there's been a whole lot of change here either. Top 4, Nuggets, followed by the Grizzlies, followed by the Kings, followed by the Clippers. Anything jump out at you from the West?
I would say the Kings
Yeah. Yeah.
being
They
three,
weren't there last time we had this conversation.
and I think the Kings being at 3 is a product of the inconsistency of the West. I think they're gonna struggle to hold on to that 3 spot.
They may struggle to hold on to the 3, but the one thing I would give them in that whole, to your point, in that whole Western Conference mode of inconsistency, I think they have been consistent. They are holding their own while everybody else seems to be going through these changes. So do I see them holding the 3? Nah. Do I see them in the playoffs? Absolutely. I think for me with the West, I take a hard look at the 5, which is Phoenix, and I think it's significant that you lost Mikal Bridges, and Cam Johnson. I think, but you're picking up KD. He's going to be playing soon. It would be, to your point, barring injury, they could easily be a top 3 team. Any thoughts on Memphis and how hot they were last time you and I talked about this? They seem to have a couple of challenges that they're trying to overcome right now.
I think Memphis needs a reset after the season.
What kind of reset?
I think they need a cultural slash
like a veteran.
I think they need that because right now I think they have a mentality that they're gonna, and I think the coach is helping perpetuate that mentality. I think
I actually thought for a while, I think one of the good news stories of the first half is how quickly my guy and your guy too, Danny Green, has come back. And even though he's with Cleveland now, he spent a lot of time there, and he was a good calming influence for them. You're talking about a guy who's been around, got a few rings, and could talk to those young cats in the locker room. And with him gone now, I don't think they have that. I think they need a strong veteran presence. I don't have a problem with being young and cocky, but there's a fine line between confidence and cockiness, and if they don't manage it well, they're going to end up being like one of those highlight teams. But to your point, they only go so far, in the West. With that, what's your biggest surprise, if there is one, for the first half of the year in the Western Conference?
I would say would be the moves that the team in the West made, with the exception of Denver. I don't think Denver really made any moves, but if you
they let what's the kid's name from VCU, Bones Highland, I think, is gone now, right?
Oh, yeah, Bones is gone.
Yeah.
I think I would say the moves that were made by Phoenix, Dallas, the Clippers, planning. Even the Lakers. I think the moves that all the potential teams that can make the playoffs, the moves that they made, it made them better.
You see the Lakers, who currently sit in the 13 slot of 15, you see them making the playoffs?
If LeBron and Anthony Davis are healthy for all those games, yes.
I don't see it happening. I think they will be healthy, thankfully, but I don't think that they're going to leapfrog. And to me, the biggest surprise, and maybe it was fool's gold early, is the fall. I'll call it the fall of Utah, because Utah came out the gate on fire. So now what are they sitting? They're sitting number 11. They're the kind of team that can make some moves. Obviously, I think that one way or another, Golden State's going to be in there. I'm not sure about the Pelicans, Freddie. I talked about this at the beginning of the year. I think, if Zion is in, out, I think they lose something. For me, the single biggest question mark in the Western Conference has to do with, will Kyrie make Dallas better? Even if he doesn't make them worse, they're a playoff team already. If he makes them better, it could be a difference maker. And my jury is still out on that. So it's interesting. Rounding out. We talked about the top 4, but rounding out the remaining 5 for those top 9. You got Phoenix in the 5 slot, Dallas in 6, Pelicans in 7, Timberwolves Timberwolves in 8, and Golden State in 9. So it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. Right now, you got Nuggets, Grizzlies, Kings 1, 2, and 3. Yes or no? That's the same top 3 when we get to the playoffs.
No.
I would agree with that. In the Eastern, pretty much same question. Celtics, Bucks, 76ers. Do you see those as the top 3 in the East?
Yes.
I would agree with that as well. All right. So if you had to pick one each today, give me your 2 teams that are in the NBA Finals.
I would say Phoenix is really a toss-up in the East between Milwaukee and Boston.
I struggled with that one too, but I went with Milwaukee ultimately from the East, and I went with Denver from the West. Before we chirp out today, Freddie, you got anything to say?
Yes, I have something.
Freddie's got something to say. Stand by, folks. We got to put him on the clock for 60 seconds. You know how we do. And you're on, man. What you got to say?
So this is not targeted at Kevin Durant, but I have a problem with players not honoring their contracts. It's gotten to a point to where it is just become ridiculous. You get to a team, you sign a contract, and for whatever reason, you no longer want to honor it. And I think that guys that sign contracts, whether max deals or whatever, and go to this team, they should literally be under a contract to say, you know what, the most you can do in the offseason is re-sign for the remaining amount of what you would have had. I think that's problematic. It's a bad look for the game.
I would agree 100% with what Freddie is saying. I've said this for every sport, and out here in the world that Freddie and I live in every day, we can't go to work and demand a trade tomorrow. They'll say, okay, trade your ass on out of here. It's not how things work. I think it sends a bad message to kids. And interesting enough, even though Freddie, he's not targeting Kevin, they asked Kevin about it this week, and he said, "Oh, I think this is good for the NBA. For guys just to." He made that statement. I'm like, no, it's not good for the NBA. You sign for something, in my opinion, you have to honor that. And when you don't honor that, to Freddie's point, I do think something has to be done. Whether or not it does is going to be a conversation for a different day, but that's a great, I got something to say. So let us know how you guys feel, and we'll use that as our question of the week. Should players be accountable for the contracts they sign? Yes or no? Support your case. We would love to hear from you guys. You can find us on Twitter at 15 Good Minutes or right here on youtube.com/15 Good Minutes. So that's it this week. Like I say, JR's out sick. Get well soon, buddy. Freddie, you got anything for our audience before we pop out?
Hey, get well, JR. We'll see you hopefully on the next taping.
Absolutely. Everybody have a great weekend and a great week. We will see you next week. We're out.